Good morning, class. Today we're going to talk about slope. Okay, so slope, I have a graph up here. Slope is normally written as a fraction. Okay, the fraction is that it's rise over run. Okay, now rise, that's how much you're moving side or up and down. Okay, and run, so on the denominator of that fraction, run is how much you're moving side to side, so left and right. Okay, and there are two different types of ways that you can find slope. The first way is where I give you a graph and you just can determine how much you're going up and down and side to side. The second is where I give you two ordered pairs and you have to use a formula and find the slope that way. Okay, but the first one is where I give you a graph. Let's look at this. So I have 2 points over here. I can connect them with a line like this. Okay, and I have to figure out the slope of this. Looking at this, I need to determine what type of slope it is. So before I figure out the slope of this graph, I'm going to give you something that you can use to determine the 4 types of slope. Okay, it looks like this. So I'm going to erase this other stuff. Alright, now the way that I remember the 4 different types of slope is something called Mr. Slope. Okay, Mr. Slope, we draw his face and it looks like this. Okay, if a line looks like this, his eye tells me, well, that's negative. That's a negative slope. If it looks like this, it's a positive slope. A line that goes straight up and down, the U tells me that it's undefined. Okay, and if a line goes horizontal, completely flat, the ends of his mouth, his dimples, tell me that it's 0. Okay, so those are the 4 different types of slope. Well, if I look at this line over here, and which one does it closely look like? Well, to me, it looks like this one. So that means it's a negative slope. So what that means is when I compute the slope, my number better be a negative number. Okay, otherwise I might have made a mistake somewhere. Okay, so let's figure this out. So I'm looking for a negative number. The way that you find the slope from a line is that you start at one point. Okay, you can start at this point or this point, doesn't really matter. Okay, but since we said it is rise over run, you're going to go up and down first and to see how to get to that point. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to figure out how much I'm going to move down. Okay, so we start over here. How much do we go down? Looks like we go down that far. So how many spaces did I move? Well, you just count. Okay, so I start over here. It looks like we go 1, 2, 3. Alright, so it's 3. But since you move down, that means it's going to be a negative 3. Okay, positive would be if you went up. Well, we went down though. Okay, and how much do I move to the side? Well, I'm going to the right. Okay, if I go to the right, it's going to be positive. To the left, it's negative. But we go to the right, it looks like I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so positive 4. And again, I'm just counting the spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, since we set this up as rise over run, I'm going to put what our rise was. Well, it was negative 3 over positive 4. Okay, and normally when I give you these problems, you're always going to put m equal to. M is the symbol that we use for slope. Okay, so m just means the slope is negative 3 over 4. Alright, so that's graphing. I'm going to give you how to find the slope of 2 ordered pairs. So this way is a little bit more visual. Now if I give you 2 ordered pairs, let's say 5, 6, and the other ordered pair will be negative 8, 10. Okay. Well, to find the slope between 2 ordered pairs, we have to use a formula. Okay, the formula is m equal to, and I'm going to write these symbols down. So it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, we have these little 2's and 1's. They just tell me which one is it. Well, that's my second y, that's my first y. That's my second x, that's my first x. And what we do is we take those numbers and you subtract them. Well, how do I figure out what's my y and what's my x? Well, in ordered pairs, ordered pair is always x comma y, x comma y. Okay, but I put 1's over here because those are my first x's and y's. And I'm going to put x2 and y2 because those are my second x and second y. Okay, so let's fill in what we know. So I'm gonna put m equal to, let's put a big fraction. Alright, so starting off, what's y2? Well, I look over here, what's my second y? Well, that's that 10. Okay, if I properly label it, I can identify what it is. So I'm gonna put positive 10. Okay, I'm gonna put, what is my y1? Well, if I look over here, it's 6. Okay, I usually write my numbers first, and then I put a minus sign in between because we're subtracting here. Okay, so that tells me what I'm going to do. Now for the bottom, x2, well, looking at this, x2 is right over there. It's negative 8. I'm gonna put x1. x1, my first x was 5. And again, I'm going to subtract these. Alright, so with this, you have to just simplify them. Okay, setting up the problem is really, really important. Okay, so yeah, let's simplify the top. So 10 minus 6, well, that's just 4. Okay, and negative 8 minus 5. Now, you want to think of negatives and minus being the same thing. Okay, they're just two different words that I use to describe the same thing. But people think that negative and minus are different things. No. Well, if you have the same sign, what do? Is you add them. So I'm going to add them, and you keep the sign. Okay, well, 8 plus 5, which is 13. And you keep the sign, they're both negative, so I'm going to put a negative. Do not think that a negative make it positive. That's only when you multiply, that's only when you divide. Okay, or if you have consecutive signs. But when you add or subtract, this is what it gives you. I cannot simplify this, so I'm going to write m equal to positive 4 over negative 13. And if you were to get negative 4 over positive 13, let's say that minus sign were on the top, it's still the same thing. Okay, alright, and that's my answer. Yeah, I'll box both of those. Okay, I'm going to give you one more example. Alright, so I'm going to erase this. I'm going to keep the formula there. And let's say I were to have negative 5, positive 6, comma, negative 5, and let's say positive, nope, negative 12. Okay, so again, label x1, y1. So x1, y1, x2, y2. And from experience, I will tell you that students will mislabel these. Make sure that you put the 1s on the first coordinate and 2s on the second coordinate. Okay. Now, this formula is very, very relaxed. You can start with your 2s. Notice how we have the 2s we're starting with, right? And the 1s we're ending with. You can go the other way around. So this formula is still the same if I were to write y1 minus y2 and x1 minus x2. But you have to be consistent with it. If you start with your 1s, end with your 2s. If you start with your 2s, end with your 1s. Okay. So I'm gonna do this one. Okay. I'm gonna start with my 1s and then subtract my y2s. So let's look at our y's. Well, y1 is 6 minus y2, which is a negative 12. I'm gonna put that in parentheses, okay? Because I'm gonna have to do something with these two negatives. On the bottom, I'm gonna have negative 5 from x1 minus over here x2, which is also negative 5. Okay, well, let's simplify the top first. Alright, so minus minus, well, it's consecutive signs, so that's where I get a plus. Okay, so I'm gonna put a plus. So right now we're just doing 6 plus 12. Well, that's 18. Okay, same thing over here, we have a minus minus. That gives us a plus. So negative 5 plus 5. Different signs you subtract. Okay, if one's a minus, one's a plus, you gotta subtract them. Okay, well, I have 5 minus 5, well, that's 0. Okay, Now, I have a number divided by 0. The thing you should know is that whenever you have a number divided by 0, it's always going to be undefined. Okay. Meaning that I cannot divide 18 by nothing. I'm not even going to get a number. Okay, so this is undefined. Hypothetically, if 0 were on the top, 0 divided by anything would be 0, but where 0 is on the bottom, you're going to get undefined. Okay, well, I hope this helped you on finding slope. That's it.